2020 is going to be an extremely important election year in the United States. This is obviously the race where President Trump is running for re-election. And at this point, it still remains a very close race. Joe Biden has been the lead in the national polls. The polls in Iowa have been much closer, showing Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Mayor Pete Buttigieg as the most competitive candidates. But there's still others in the race, such as Amy Klobuchar. And then former mayor of New York City, Mike Bloomberg, awaits at the end of the first four primary and caucus contests. So it's very much in flux, but you have seen a relatively steady support for a small number of candidates at the top of the polls. So there have been several important issues in the race related to Latin America. First and foremost is, of course, immigration. This is primarily a domestic issue, but it also affects people from communities from all over Latin America who live in the United States. And virtually all of the candidates have supported some version of comprehensive immigration reform, as well as legalizing dreamers and allowing pathways for citizenship for immigrants who have lived in the United States for a number of years, but perhaps without documentation. In addition, trade issues are always very hot. Of course, we have the recent passage of the new NAFTA, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, by the United States Senate, which somewhat takes it off the table as an immediate campaign issue. And then there are issues such as Cuba policy, Venezuela policy, that don't have that much resonance nationally, but are relevant in South Florida. And I expect we'll probably see more on those issues come up as the Florida primary approaches in mid-March. On the Democratic side of the aisle, I think there's a broad consensus around the need for the United States to really rebalance its relationships with Latin America, to put much more emphasis on diplomacy and trying to work collaboratively with our neighbors in the region versus adopting a more aggressive or bullying posture. I think in general you see an approach across the Democratic side of the aisle that really favors restoring positive relations with countries in Latin America. In fact, a calmer, more strategic policy that would appear if the Democrats win the 2020 election would actually be a dramatic change from what we've seen in the last few years.